friends, I'm back. I am so excited to be doing a video after this amount of time. It has been a couple of months, but we just moved our office. If you are in the Houston area, we are now at 740 West 20th Street, 77008. We're in the Heights. We do have an adorable showroom. We will be open for in-person workshops again. We are so happy because our last lease was just the worst and just problematic for years. We are here with our latest kit. This is an oil pastel kit. This is only available to a certain amount of people, but it will be on the website soon. So do check the description for a link to be able to grab this kit. And hopefully by the time you watch this video, it will be available. But I want to show you what's inside, and I want to show you a beginner's guide to how to work with it. I've got this set of 25 oil pastels right here. I've got some fun accessories. I've got my instructions. I've got a set of mandala images. And last, I have a pastel paper notebook. So the first thing that you're going to want to know about oil pastels, if you've never worked with them before, is what brand you choose. This is definitely the best brand for any cost-effective, anything that's reasonably priced. If you want to go really high-end, you're going to want to go with Sennelier, the premier oil pastel brand. It was what was used by Picasso. This is what you want to use if you want something that's high-end. Those are about like $5 per piece the last time I looked. So it's definitely going to be pretty expensive, but this is wonderful if you are thinking, getting started, you want something that's student grade and you want something that's really, really lovely. Now, one thing about these oil pastel sets is there's all kinds of different amounts. The more colors you have, the better. They do blend really well. Blending with oil pastels is beautiful. It's so fun. It's really rewarding. But the more variations in colors you have, the better. Another thing that you might want is some extra white or even something that's clear. A lot of people like to use candle wax with their oil pastels as well. So here's our lovely set. This is so fun. Now let's take a look at these accessories. So right here we have some wooden skewers. These are really great in place of palette knives. People use palette knives really regularly with oil pastels because you can do a lot of scraping into the surface of the oil pastels. These are some little spatulas. For that, we're going to do the same. We also have a beautiful technical pen. We'll use that for our beginner's guide. Right here, let me show you these mandala images. We'll use this for our next tutorial. Just make sure you click the link right over here and you can watch that video, which will be making a mandala with your oil pastels. So here's some different images. There's 10 that are included, so hopefully you find some mandalas that you really love. And now we've got our oil pastel paper. Now, one thing that you want to know about oil pastel paper, this has a wonderful tooth to it. It's acid-free. You often see oil pastels in a lot of shades like this, which is really fun. We also have some white or kind of like cream sheets right here. I'll start with white just so you can see it a little bit better. Now you can use any kind of paper for oil pastels. You can use Bristol, you can use your sketchbook, you can use anything you like. The better the paper, the better your oil pastels are going to look. So what we're going to want to do to get started, and I'll talk you through all kinds of fun tips along the way, but anytime we're getting started with oil pastels, we always want to start with some basic blending techniques. So what I'm going to do, make almost like a storyboard. So I'm just making a long rectangle. I'm making a few right here. So we're going to want to go from white to color, gray to color, black to color, and last but certainly not least is we'll do white to color to black, the whole spectrum. So let's just work through these and then we'll do some more over here on this side. So let's go ahead and grab our white, grab our black, we'll need our gray, and then we'll need a few other colors. I'm gonna take a light one, a kind of a medium shade, and then something that's a little bit darker. Now here's an important tip, something you need to know before we move on from this point. Layering oil pastels is beautiful, blending is beautiful, but you often want to work from dark to light. It just works better that way when you work from dark to light. It's kind of interesting because to me, oil pastels are so much like crayons. They function like crayons. They look like crayons. They're just a really high-end alternative. They're kind of creamier. They blend a little bit better. But with crayons, I don't think I would work from dark to light. I think I would always work from light to dark. And I think the reason that I would work from light to dark with crayons is the fact that with crayons and with oil pastels, the part of your first layer, your first thing that hits that surface of the paper is going to be the thing that your eye resonates to the most. So you can add, highlights, and oil pastels do layer a little bit better, so you can add like white highlights on top. However, whatever really hits that tooth of the paper, you can't really remove it. You'll see as we go. Hopefully that makes sense the way that I say it, but it'll make sense as I go. Okay, so again, we're working from dark to light. So we're starting with this white to our color right here. So intuitively I picked up that white. Nope, that's wrong. We don't want to do that. We want to pick up our color. And I'm going to use just like this blue, this kind of medium color just for fun. So what I'm going to do for starting my blending is I want to start thick and dense, and as I move to the left, I'm going to get lighter and lighter, and then I'm going to leave this is nice and dark right here, and I'm going to leave this blank right here. And you can see that, like, you guys, I'm a real artist because I have like paint all over me, and that's just from being in the office and working with these supplies. So now we're going to do that backwards. And one thing that you guys might want to think about when you're working with your oil pastels is working with your circular motion, just like you would with crayons, and especially as we're doing these blending techniques. So again, I'm starting out nice and firm. Now I'm starting to get a little bit lighter as I go, and I'm just leaving that right side to the right. I'm leaving that part alone. Now you might see that there's like a little bit of blue on this. I can grab a paper towel and just wipe that right off. Now we'll do our gray to our color. So again, starting with our color, nice and firm, and then we get lighter and lighter as we go on. And now we have our gray, and we're gonna do the other side. Nice and firm, and then we just get lighter and lighter. But hopefully you can get a sense of how those tones are really starting to alter as you see those colors blend together. This gray is really wonderful because you can actually make any of your colors more neutral. And then we'll do our black, getting lighter as we move from the right to the left. Nice and thick right here, and then getting lighter as we go. And then we'll do the opposite. We're starting really heavy on the left, and we just get lighter and lighter. Look at the way that color changes as we go. It's so fun, right? And you can see how many different colors you can make. Okay, so this one, we're still working from dark to light. So I'm going to start with that black, but this time I'm only going to go about halfway. So this time what I'm doing is I'm nice and heavy in the middle, and I'm actually going to get lighter as I go out this way, and I'm going to get lighter as I go out this way. Finishing with that white. And you can always add just like a little bit more, just kind of even everything out as you go if you like. And there we go. And now we have a kind of a full spectrum of this green range, which is so much fun. Let's go ahead and draw some squares over here. Certainly doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to start with 6. And for these, you're also going to want to have a paper towel. Paper towel is really going to come in handy when we're working with oil pastels because a paper towel is great for blending. It's just so easy, it's cheap. So I'm going to use my pink right here and maybe this darker green right here. Leave some blue just in case I need it. So we're going to do some soft blending and some hard blending. So I'm going to do the same technique as over here where I'm working from dark to light or pressure, high pressure to slightly less pressure. But this time, instead of working with black, gray, and white, we're going to be working with color. Now we can always wipe these down as we go. Now let's do softer. All right, now see the difference there. Now let's do the same thing again. This time I'll work from maybe blue to orange, just a slight difference. It's hard to say which one of these is darker. I would say maybe this one's darker. So I'll start there. Now this time, let's use our paper towel. So I'm just gonna fold it up nice and small. And let's just work in circles and do a little bit of blending. I'm starting in the center and I'm working my way out. And take a look at that. Now let's do this again, but soft. Let me show you some stippling. If anybody took high school art, these are definitely terms you're going to remember. But what it is it's making dots to tell the story of shade and lightness and darkness. So instead of using those circular motions that we were using, instead we're just doing dots. So I want my dots to be heavier on one side, lighter on the other. And by heavier, I mean closer together. Now I'm going to make this darker on the right, lighter on the left. With this one, instead of working from dark to light, it actually works really well if you work from light to dark, but you can do it any which way you like. But what we're going to do is we're going to start to layer colors. So I'll start with some of my favorites. And just layer this color right on top of that. All right, now once you have everything nice and filled in, you see that the paper isn't picking up as much of that pigment. It's starting to get filled in. What we're gonna do is grab one of our wooden skewers. We wanna use the pointy side, and let's just go ahead and draw right into the surface of that pastel. And you see how I'm actually picking up the pastel, and so I can see the other colors underneath, in this case, that pink. And this is a very fun, beginner-friendly technique that works so well with oil pastels. All right, now that we've gone through all of our blending techniques, let me just tell you a few fun more things about oil pastels, and then you'll be ready to have some adventures and really have fun with your new pastel set. Now, one of the things that you're not seeing here is the fact that oil pastels actually play really nicely with other types of materials. They're really great for mixed media. So in particular, colored pencils are really wonderful. They blend so smoothly, and it's a great way to get fine lines, to be able to add detail in a way that you can't with oil pastel, because these are so thick and they're really good for covering broad, large areas. In addition to colored pencils for fine lining, I actually really love watercolor for layering. The oil pastel is going to be better on top, and the watercolor is going to be better as more of like a background. The oil pastel is actually going to resist that watercolor, so anything that you already have down in oil pastel and then you add watercolor on top of that, you're going to see that watercolor move away from the pastel and just kind of fill in the pieces that haven't been filled in with oil pastel. Another thing that you need to know is anytime you're sketching with any of these beautiful colors of paper, like this blue, or this one is kind of like a muted green, Don't use pencil. The pencil will always show through when you're working with oil pastels. Instead, it's actually best to sketch with a really light neutral color that's similar. So for example, with this white paper, if I wanted to do some sketching, I might use this really light pink so that as I add my finished colors on top, you don't even notice that pink anymore. For that blue color paper, you might want to use a light blue. For that muted green, a light green, so on and so forth. In addition to blending with a paper towel, which is my favorite way to blend, there are blending stumps, which people really love. You can get that at any craft supply store, art supply store, and then just make sure that you have sandpaper so that you can scrub them down as you're working with them. You can also use your finger, which is a really easy technique to use. Just be aware that it will come off, and so you will have to continually wash your hands if you want to be able to use your hands to blend. Well, that's a ton of tips, a ton of tricks, and some blending techniques for getting started. So next up, we'll have some tutorials on how to make some beautiful finished pieces with our oil pastels. If you guys haven't subscribed to Pop Shop America, please do ring that bell for notifications, and we will be back with so many more craft tutorials and art tutorials after this.